When in doubt, in the past, ENDEMIC would have been the team that I would have thought would have picked that one, but it's Team Freedom who chose Braxis Holdout. ENDEMIC sticks with first pick, and do you think they expected the Braxis Holdout pick, J-How?
I guess no. And I'm just wondering, are strategies prepared by one or the other team? I mean, we're just a week away, I believe it's next week, from Jimmy's return to the meta, where if there was ever a Battleground Jimmy was ever played on, if you look over at Korea, it was this Battleground. Man, he's strong.
Yeah, I played versus a Jimmy Morales duo lane that was kicking our tri-lanes butts. Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. Oh. And this was the map where Morales would occasionally pop in. I don't think we're going to see it here. We're definitely not going to see Jimmy here, not until we see his rework come in. Probably. I mean, that would be wild if we did. But still, Braxis Holdout, don't see it very often.
One last ride.
Yep, Genji, you got to keep him in mind with the boss control or boss weirdness that he has this deflect.
Supportless compositions, Abathur always has to be considered, and you look at the compositions that we see Team Freedom liking to run with the Greymane, if it's the Genji, if that makes it through, those are things that play to their favor, even if they do go into something. We've seen the Karazim be an offensive unit and that support as well, so there are things that Team Freedom definitely has that they play that do well on this Battleground. If you want to play that style, it's been a while since we just see a traditional 1-4 composition on Braxis. There's no normal games on Braxis anymore, it feels like. So if it's going to be normal, look for the Gul'dan. We don't see the Gul'dan nearly as much.
Muradin.
Why don't we get this music more often, by the way?
It's pretty dope.
I'm digging it.
Muradin, a noob, those kind
Johanna.
of warriors that can steal a point away. Any of the point-stealing heroes in general. With the mobility, Medivh, who has been so absent from NA, it is very strange.
Johanna, to me, I think this is one of her better Battlegrounds. I mean, it's so strong to, 1, control a point, 2, you give wave clear, which means that the heroes you draft don't necessarily have to be the wave clear heroes, and they can prioritize maybe killing the other team instead. And Johanna, is it first pick worthy for ENDEMIC? Also,
consider things like Phoenix with Planet Cracker that can clear out a Zerg Rush really fast. Molten Core with a Ragnaros. We haven't seen Ragnaros in a long time, but there are a lot of tricky things to this Battleground that teams have to maneuver, and I feel like for Freedom to bring ENDEMIC here, ENDEMIC is going to take a lot of time with each and every one of these picks to make sure that they're not forgetting anything, because this used to be the Battleground for Gale Force Esports. They showed an understanding of rotations and the control of the objective like no other team, but now it's a different story.
The Falstad and Tahaka, I think, are definitely heroes that the old ENDEMIC roster style did play around globals. I think, but Tahaka and Falstad on the side of Team Freedom could easily be like, well, we're going to rotate up. The problem is Urel is one of those heroes that you're going to be potentially ganking. That's pretty difficult.
She's a good point holder. She's such a good point holder. I think that's a great first pick for ENDEMIC and a first step in bringing this series back to Game 5.
I'm going to be surprised if I don't see a Johanna here. Wow, okay, I'm surprised. One other thing, by the way, I think this applies to Braxis for now until we see the changes. If there is a Ragnaros on the other team, which we don't see it as much in HGC, it clears the Zerg wave. But if you get a 100% Zerg wave right now and they have a Ragnaros on the other side, you know what clears Ragnaros' Molten Core pretty well? Planet Cracker also does as well. It's both offensive and defensive, and that way Molten Core does not get the value and it makes it easier. You're welcome in Hero League.
Is this the Braxis change? Is it in?
No, not until next, because it just came in, right?
The Rainer patch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which it's so different. A 0% Zerg wave is very strong right now.
Not unlike a 6 pool, my friend.
The first time it spawned, I'm like, I thought they didn't channel. Like, why is it so strong now?
Where are my structures going? All right, next 2 picks for ENDEMIC. They already have Urel, Phoenix, and Muradin taken away. There's your Johanna and a Falstad to get some global presence.
Which leaves both of our best sustained supports still untouched in Malfurion and Deckard.
Good points, good points. Maybe Team Freedom will ban one, pick the other.
I mean,
I think ENDEMIC bans Tahaka here, right?
You think about who can stay on a point the longest, and Dahaka is probably at the top. Sonya's kind of up there as well.
I mean more for the global, but yes.
Oh, but for the global, yeah. But if it's point control, then yeah, they stay in the lane. But also the global, in case you do try and rotate down, can give you that control.
Point control is going to be really hard because Urel not only can stand there for a long time, she has a knockback too. Hammer ban.
Good old Hammer.
Yeah. You put Hammer with a solid sustain support with her, and especially if the Johanna's there, but that means there's a lot happening with the other heroes that can just sustain while they hold the lane.
I don't have my sheet in front of me, but
yeah.
Sergeant Hammer, pre-second ban, has a pretty average win rate. Post-second ban, especially if you look globally like Korea, they pick her a lot after the second ban, is incredibly high. I want to say it's somewhere near like 80%, 70, 80%. So a second ban Hammer is much better than a early pick Hammer here to be countered.
ENDEMIC has had enough of Freedom's Greymane, and I don't blame him. Both Lutano and Yoda played an awesome Greymane.
Is there any chance Phoenix is the solo laner?
Sure.
I mean, you're not necessarily going to lose in the same traditional sense. Again, ranged heroes do very well against melee in solo compositions, as long as you don't get ganked. Tracer is one of those heroes that can rotate up or stay on the bottom. They don't have the weight, and this is the problem that I have. I think now Phoenix is definitely on the 4-man, because Muradin and Johanna, one of them has wave clear, the other one doesn't. And so if it's a Johanna there, then you can consider Phoenix being in that top lane. I think because it's a Muradin and Malfurion, there's no way.
Have seen teams do some adjustments to their laning, like have a Tracer and Tassadar and do a dual lane, and then you could have Muradin, Phoenix, and Malfurion, but we'll see if they want someone a little more beefy along in that last pick for Team Freedom. But for ENDEMIC now, they need to get their support here. And then, what are you feeling?
They need, I mean, again, they have a wave clear with Johanna. Deckard is very appealing, but against Tracer, do you feel that's a viable option? We know Stukov does well on this Battleground.
I think if they're going to put Ural top Falstad bot or vice versa, then you would want somebody with Johanna who can rotate around and try to get kills possibly, but also to live versus Tracer. I almost wonder if they're going to Jaina again. No, they'll Chromie. Okay, Chromie and Karazim.
Karazim gives you the palm option in case you get hit with a pulse bomb later in the game. Warp out and a recall and ice block at 13. Chromie temporal loop, not as appealing, but slowing sands on this Battleground as you try and push with a potential Zerg wave is strong. You can also use it aggressively to say, well, you're not going to dive us because you can't get through here and the only way is a flank, and that is much more difficult. This is our first traditional Braxis game I feel like I've seen in forever. Traditional draft style, I should say.
Very cool. Global on either side. Lots of possibilities for rotations from either side. Do you give the edge to one team over the other with the drafts?
I really want to see Urel versus Dahaka. I mean, it might put us to sleep, but at least I can see how it plays out, because there's not going to be a lot of action that goes on there. There might be a drag landed or two, but then Urel heals herself and they just kind of look at each other like, whatever. But the 4-man, Chromie stacking up. Falstad's wave clear is pretty bad until 7. Again, Johanna takes care of the wave clear part, but the fighting potential, it's not really there, I think, for either team in the early game. They both can kill each other, but it's only if they commit to, well, let's fight. And I don't really know if teams at this rate are just going to willingly walk forward and fight over the point. But again, if Urel is holding top, that will force your hand on the bottom. This is not the Braxis changes where you can just stand on and contest them. Not yet.
Gonna be watching this Falstad to see if we see any build changes.
Speaking of build changes, the block pickup to go against a Falstad, I love it. Chromie Bronze Talons, no. Falstad, we know you're auto-attacking.
Is he?
Well,
oh, yeah. Well, yeah, just in general, he auto-attacks. Yeah,
it's not very fast.
I almost wondered if he was gonna go wingman build. Not so much. This isn't Yoda playing. He seems to be the purveyor of that build more than anyone else. So let's see how these lanes are going to be set up. To start, ENDEMIC keeps Karazim at the top with Urel just to see if there's going to be any aggression. He can help provide the counter-aggression from that, and we are seeing Phoenix in the top lane, Jay-How.
I mean, it makes sense. I think that it might... Man, this is difficult. Karazim's not showing. Johanna went the self-heal at level 1. Chromie stays far enough back that you don't really have to worry about taking damage. So the rotation... This is... As Karazim's going to sit in the bush, he's actually going to find a rotation up.
Oh my.
Yeah, this is a heavy rotation.
There's a lot of people, but Kira's staying strong.
Yeah, I don't think Dahaka wins, but I'm not sure what Dahaka does in the 4-man unless they just try and, again, disrupt the norm. Try and steal a camp, force a rotation out. They're going to go ahead and back off. Michael Udall, he's going to hop in and try and finish that camp. But again, Phoenix does what no other melee can really do. Dahaka's coming in. We've got an early skirmish here.
Yeah, with the Tracer. They would love to get this damage in. Drag hits perfect on Michael Udall, who has one Breath of Heaven for the heals. Turns around, puts the damage back for Lutano, who Dansky is going to barrel roll aggressively to try to bring down, but Kira taking a lot of damage will be the first to fall.
Well, I said these teams... Oh, that was a nice heal. That was just saved his life. I said the only way they have early game kill potential is both teams just lay down and agree to fight. And unfortunately for ENDEMIC, they are dropping like flies. And the spray to boot. That is 3 kills in 2 minutes. 3 more than I would have anticipated in the first 10 minutes of this game.
All starting from Freedom rotating up, getting aggressive, and then being willing to fight over a camp. Staying that long on your opponent's side of the map, not generally something that's going to reward you, but with that aggression, with the damage, that early game damage too, and the pulse bomb that didn't go down but did force back Falstad. And Freedom comes out on top in that initial endeavor. Now, though, lower respawn timers, and ENDEMIC's going to be back to stop the beacon progress, but not before 42%. That's nice for Freedom.
Starting to mount up a little bit. Michael Yoda's going to hold point for the moment. Got to be careful not to get CC'd. Nice dash out just in time for any potential stun or lockdown comes in. They are holding point for now as Chromie continues to drop bombs here. Finally, top lane. I think Falstad's in trouble. He's dead.
Yeah, Kier left. He can Avenging Wrath over the wall, which is what we saw him do, trying to help contest, keeping the Falstad in the top versus the Phoenix, but with Nasmus coming in, the fighting is breaking out in all areas of Brax's holdout, but as of yet has not worked out for ENDEMIC, who the first couple of games looked to be the team fighting team. That hammer nearly was the demise of Yoda.
That hammer was so close. Either way, Beacon still held by ENDEMIC at the top. You can see Karazim will be coming down to the bottom, seeing if maybe ENDEMIC can go. I mean, even if they lose out at this point, getting 72% for a team that, again, Falstad level 7, much stronger. Chromie continuing to stack and scale as this game goes on. So the longer this game goes and the more you buy yourself, the more just time. Chromie knows what to do with time.
Now Earth Allies here, that's going to help quite a lot versus Lutano. Not so much the pulse bombs, but the auto attack damage definitely. Kira's going to try to knock people aggressively in. Big impact. Not being able to follow that up with the Chromie combo means that Team Freedom will again take both the beacons and start channeling back, but ENDEMIC got 72, so despite that early fight, getting right back in and making the correct decision so that they have a fighting chance in this game.
Karazim went top. Nasmus is going to respond accordingly. Phoenix will end up hearthing to make sure and come back full health. Shields are fine, but you need a little bit of health to back it up. Lutano eats a sand blast, but Pollution doing an excellent job keeping everybody alive there on the Malfurion.
Team Freedom pushes the wave out, which means they might be able to make some rotations somewhere, but the beginning of this Brax's holdout game has been nothing but explosive as both teams try to get a leg up in one of these beacon fights with their globals, with their jumps in, like Zugrug just showed. ENDEMIC's got to get out of here as 4 people show up in this top.
Udall questioned going in, then he's like, yeah, I'm going in. Then the whole cavalry came there with Team Freedom, and Then he had a dash out, lucky to get over the wall there. Nice roots placed down by Collusion. Seeing if he can make something happen. Zugrug lurking here. He's gonna find Udall. He's gonna dash out just fine.
84% to 90. Both of them guaranteed to have something of value with the Zerg Rush, but the longer that this gets held out for Team Freedom, the closer they get to heroic abilities, which means the closer they can get to that Planet Cracker. But can they hold it until they get heroic abilities?
Michael Udall trades out there for Lutano, but Collusion so accurate, so precise with his Moonfires over and over again. The health bars of Team Freedom have barely been contested, it feels like, except for in the major skirmishes. And obviously with the 4 kills to 0, definitely in favor of Team Freedom here in the early going. Team Freedom stretching their lead a bit. Cure, he's got a whole party, but he goes over, hits the hammer. Does he have a sidestep? Does have the sidestep. Pulse Bomb's gonna be there.
And the heal from Vindication wasn't enough. Losing Urel right as the Zerg spawn is not exactly copacetic for ENDEMIC, but they'll have to make it work because they are finding themselves down 2 games in this series. If they lose this one, they lose to Freedom, and this needs to be one that they win. If not this, then their series versus Arctalis is on Sunday. Falstad getting ganked in the bottom along with the Zerg Rush.
He actually made a pretty sneaky play because Murden came in with a flank. I mean, you could just put that, write it in the books, and it's over and done with. That was way too easy. I mean, ENDEMIC is trying to get something out of theirs, but it looks like the winning Zerg wave will eventually be here for Team Freedom. Let's see how much of this Zerg wave is left. This Chromium team make their way down, but Zugrug just making the easy rotation. There was no making it out of their line.
Fort versus Fort. Level lead for Freedom. We may see ENDEMIC hold these.
For 10.
Yeah, defend most of it, but hold it for heroic abilities. Okir.
Yeah, so this is one of the best strategies. You can do this on Tomb of the Spider Queen. You can do this on Brax's Holdout, things of that nature. If your opponent is near a crucial talent tier, you just don't kill the remaining Zerg wave. And Team Freedom is struggling alone to clear theirs, but those remaining few, they don't do a lot of damage. And it's better to get on an even talent tier than it is to fast clear. And that's exactly what they're doing. They are not clearing. When is it best to not do anything? This time. I try and explain that so many times. I'm glad we get it here on this map. It's like sometimes it's better to do nothing.
I think this is one of the most often examples that we get, because a lot of times that first Zerg Rush hits right around heroic abilities. ENDEMIC almost have those. They already have Slowing Sands with so many escapes that Team Freedom have, especially between Recall and Warp alone. Temporal Loop, not likely to gain a ton of value, so now they'll get Slowing Sands, which do give them hope in defending versus future Zerg Rushes, but also in holding on to a point a little bit better. The rest of the heroic abilities, though, is it going to be a Gus 7-sided for an isolation kill, or is Mike going to go back to Palms?
I mean, you look at your Palm targets. I mean, Timeout will be here and a half a level for Chromie. Johanna and Urel, pretty tanky, have multiple ways of surviving.
Falstad has Gust.
Falstad has Gust, and when he barrel rolls, does get a shield. So then Karazim just has to protect himself. And if you have your heals and you can maneuver appropriately, then there's less risk involved than it would be for some other comps. It's still risky, but if you can get the offensive potential of that, then maybe the payoff is there.
ENDEMIC has stabilized, largely because of the little amounts of beacon percentage they were able to acquire. Ended up giving them the bigger rush, but I think should they continue to lose out on the fight now that respawn timers are getting a lot longer, J-How, then it's going to be more of an issue for them trying to get back out and get onto the points. What are you hoping to see from them now that they have heroic abilities?
They're going to have to do multiple things once they get into the team fights. It's not just about getting the team fights because, as you had mentioned, on this Battleground, Planet Cracker does so well. So even if you get a Zerg wave, you're not going to get the maximum amount of value with it because Planet Cracker's on the other side. So it's going to be a matter of getting the camps, pushing potentially the opposite lanes, making something happen, even making a risky boss call if it comes to that. Right now, it's nowhere near risk time despite being down 6 kills to 0. but they have to take multiple members. They have to be very decisive in these fights. Getting one pick is not going to be enough. Just simply getting one pick for a beacon phase, I don't think it's going to have a big payoff. So they're going to need multiple kills off of this.
The top with the mercenary camp, set up well for ENDEMIC as Falstad clears out the other camp in the bottom and Ural moves to the point. ENDEMIC is hoping to get the start on the beacons. B-Kid on that Johanna, as you theorize, can hold for a long time before finally being forced off. But not before Ural claims the bottom, and 12% spikes up for ENDEMIC.
It's been a really interesting approach. I mean, I'm just watching the minimap. Falstad has been clearing the lane while Ural is holding the point. That's the name of the game, is your wave clear is there, and you have enough here. There's no real threat. Johanna can survive. Chromie just pokes from anywhere on the map, it feels like.
Ural.
So there's not a lot of threat there, but here comes Cure.
She's going to jump in and move to the bush, sees a Lutano. Michael Udall is going to dive in on that. They get very aggressive toward Collusion. There's no ice block yet. There is no means of safety for Collusion other than to use his Twilight Dream, which as of yet hasn't happened. Instead, Ardent Defender for Cure, and then a Gust as Cure's going to take some damage from that Pulse Bomb.
Holding for now. Dahaka did use that Brush Stalker up, so he doesn't have that available tool to go to the bottom right now. B-Kid going to hold position here.
Until Ural gets down to bottom.
Yeah. Mike Udall, though, he's feeling it. Collusion eats a lot of damage there from Biggie, and there's no well to tap. That wall that went down, or that fort that went down, that's why we actually see that might actually concede a little bit of control. See if they can identify that. As Zugrug, he's going to come over. It looks like we're going to play a little bit of musical chairs as they try and cover up that hole of not having the support for a few more seconds.
Mike does need to be careful when he dives in on Collusion, because Twilight Dream will wreck his day. You can't seven-sided, you can't dash out if you are in fact silenced. But I am amazed at how patient Collusion was in that moment when Cure was diving in on him, and then when we saw Karazim dive in. That is the mark of the experience of this player who used to not be a support player but has proven his chops many a time, especially on this Malfurion, which was initially where he found a lot of success. Look at this stock.
Dahaka with a Brush Stalker. Time Trap will probably save Biggie's life. Isolation just missed.
Wow.
They try to make the play. Pulse Bomb is not even ready, though. So I don't even know if they would have got that kill. It would have been a long chase otherwise. And again, timeout being available, I think that was a little bit of an overcommitment there on the side of Team Freedom.
ENDEMIC has played out with this Ural super well. She sees Zugrug just rotating out, so then they take top again. And they just look to get some damage in whenever possible. Get a camp here and there. It feels like it's Freedom who's the one who's responding to ENDEMIC, which has not been the case for the past couple games, and is very surprising considering how the early game in this particular game went.
We haven't seen a high priority on the camps. There's been so much action, so much skirmishing around these beacons as Cure comes in for the flank position. Gonna have that armor reduction there from Dahaka's 13. We'll have the rotation up. Camp is in the bottom. That will buy a little bit of time, but with Yoda and Phoenix, that is a fast and easy clear. So not buying the real estate that they anticipated for. Cure, gonna use that Divine Steed. Hop on out of here.
That camp in the bottom is gonna force back ENDEMIC, but they're looking to do the same with the top lane too, to strengthen the stronghold that they have over this top lane. As Falstad deals with the bottom in the camp, that Freedom were able to push by having the Phoenix there, but that leaves Falstad a juicy target. You can see Murden and Tracer starting to set up for the flank around this. Ural is a long way away from this. Dancy's gonna have a barrel roll, uses it there, Gus away, but it's Lutano who keeps on the chase here using the Pulse Bomb. Now Biggie comes in, recall forced, and that saves Dansky.
I think he had that if he just continues to auto. There is no temporal loop, and it's just a matter of dodging Chromie's skill shots. He tried to use that parting gift and missed the mark. That is a major misstep. As now we see ENDEMIC, they're looking to take the fight. The hammer's actually gonna knock him out of that Dragon's Breath, so no follow-up damage there. But I am gonna say Dansky is lucky to be alive there.
I agree, and likely, should the same situation happen again, where there is a solo camp, we may see some adjustments made. But now they'll try to get a different target as Cure sits on the point here. Had Ardent Defender wasn't forced to use it, use the hammer to knock Team Freedom off the point. They still have top, but they are falling behind in experience.
Yeah, 16, of course, is one of the bigger power spikes that you could play off of, but then we look at Tracer, obviously getting the locked and loaded does give you a lot of damage. We know that Phoenix does even more damage when he has a shield, getting that 15% bonus damage. So there is a lot more. Michael Udall, he's going to be stunned. He's going to be targeted. 7-sided strike will have a dash target, but not. He dashed right as the Twilight Dream went off, so he was able to hit it and get out of there. That is a big cooldown for a very short cooldown.
Yeah, and ENDEMIC wanting to punish if they can that large cooldown was used. Getting the beacon here, Dahaka's in the top, so they'll trade hands yet again. And not too much more was gained for ENDEMIC. ENDEMIC really wanted to, after Twilight Dream was being used, get kills there because, again, they are behind. They've been behind slightly just due to those kills in the early game, and though they have caught up as best they can, facing 16 when they had put so much work into getting the lead on these beacons would be very frustrating for them, but they may just have to.
This is enough. I don't think that they can get up there in time. Urel is going to hold this point until the goats come home, and there is nothing that Freedom, I think, can do about it. They're going to have a heavy rotation up, but it is too little, too late. Again, Planet Cracker on the other side and 16. There's not a ton I expect out of this. Planet Cracker. And, well, that's your Zergwave.
Does do quite a lot as
good.
They're leaving.
You ever see that angle taken, by the way? Normally it's like, oh, wait till it to spawn. But
right, well, you want the line.
Right as it goes.
So wherever they're going to be in the line before they start to spread out in the concave. Falstad, Freedom will use that angle and be just fine to keep pushing as they take out Falstad too. That is the power of Planet Cracker if I have ever seen it on this map.
I think they're going to sustain a little bit of damage in the bot lane, but it looks like they're willing to trade out. I mean, these things still do hurt. Don't get me wrong. They are strong. This Cure does get the cleansing dash in there by Michael Udall. I mean, this is still in favor of ENDEMIC. This is by no means, I mean, they've got one more target. 7-sided strike, tunneling claws.
Look at Cure. Cure stuck with him, jumped into isolation, hit him.
No way.
And he get dragged back in. Nazmus has lived for forever, it feels like, and it's enough to keep him alive till Yoda gets here. But he's still low, and the rest of the team working on the keep will take that keep, making it an even trade.
Again, global on both sides. One of them is a little bit more vulnerable than the other, Falstad versus Dahaka. We've seen a couple picks onto that Falstad, but a keep for a keep. See if teams can maybe try and play around the catapults, which catapults on this map, Gilly, they're not like other maps because they're near the beacon. They're easy to rotate to. It's a very long term that you have to get some type of advantage off of those. We also have a change up, by the way. No bonus damage for Phoenix at 16. Instead, going Arsenal Overcharge, which is his version of Battle Momentum. But more importantly, that affects on Planet Cracker.
Yeah, it works on your heroic ability. Otherwise, what we're seeing as 16 rolls in for both the teams, pretty normal. That tunneling clause was crucial for Nazmus to stay alive through the gank. We'll continue to do so. The big thing to remember is that Team Freedom has kept this level lead going. And though they were about to hit 16 and have that to maybe turn around the Zerg rush before, if ENDEMIC can't get something done, which we're seeing them do right now, 20 is going to be a problem for them too.
Yeah, it's go time. Lutano forced to go through those slowing sands, unable to get to that back line, and that was the key moment because we saw Zugra going in there. The tanks go in on one side to try and steal the camp, but instead you get the counter aggression, forced to retreat, make sure and peel for that back line. Very important to do. And now they're going to continue to look for a pick, and I don't think that Team Freedom's going to take the bait. Cure, seeing if he can get into position again, trying to get that knockback.
Oh,
Blessed shield. Just missed.
Dahaka starting to push with the camp in the top. Someone needs to head back to deal with that. And we'll see Falstad do that. He's going to be pretty safe this time dealing with these camps all the way back.
Oh, collusion.
Oh, strange place for collusion to be here.
Oh, they're looking for the counter flank, and they might have it. Chromie is immersed there. There's going to be the gust. The pulse bomb goes in. Biggie, he survives with just barely any health, and now they're turning the fight. ENDEMIC is turning this around. 2 members now down on the side of Team Freedom. Zugrug, he's in trouble. Cure, he's trying to mount up, seeing if he can get the instant jump in. but the core starting to take damage as catapults are here.
Right, Falstad had to come back to help, and though he did save big impact, it's at the cost of a significant amount of damage on this core. It's going to be set down before Chromie can clear this out. Chromie needed to go back and heal anyway, but now ENDEMIC even more than ever need to get these beacons going. And how? 30 seconds until Tracer is back up. And ENDEMIC's starting to catch back up in experience. They're going to work on the boss too. They're working on everything so that they can close this game out with this final push.
They have to. I mean, there's 10 seconds left before Gus comes in, so we'll see if Zugrug and team try and capture this. Slowing Sands go down.
Gus
directly on the point. No Tracer here. I think they've got to give this up. They do send Dahaka, does Team Freedom up, but Cure hops right over with those goat legs and is going to reclaim control of this top beacon. And now ENDEMIC looking to put a stamp on this game and force a game number 5.
Nasmus draws back a lot of ENDEMIC, but they turn around, see a Muradin, and strike. Zugrug barely staying alive with that Avatar, drawing away a lot of ENDEMIC, but the Zerg Rush and the boss is all going to be pushing down that top lane, and that is a welcome sign for ENDEMIC, considering the fact that that top lane was the problem area.
I think they might want to try an end here. I mean, Planet Cracker is going to help a bit, but this boss is still very healthy, so they get the Planet Cracker value, but the boss still sitting around 90% health as they push in. Keep now being threatened, 20 on the horizon for both teams, but ENDEMIC being very aggressive here, trying to move forward as Gus comes out and buys space to make the push for the core.
Gus does take out the keep. You just need to keep the escorting going, and you can see that space created by B-Kid. Chromie is up really far and gets hit by the Twilight Dream. Now Falstad dies too. Michael Udall is super low as everyone tries to get on the core, but now you don't have Karazim on the core. He's so low and being chased down. But they do get the boss here. They get the boss now, and even with those 2 damage dealers going on, they have the Storm Shield, they have Ardent Defender. He's going to stay alive a little bit longer with the 7-sided strike, and that'll be just enough to take out the core. Taking us to game 5.
Was that the old-fashioned bubble heart there, Gilly? That was an old bubble heart there.
Was it?
That was a bubble heart. I'm like, wait a minute. Invulnerable, you don't see that every day. That's one way to make sure. Oh, look, if things fall apart there, you need somebody to defend the core. It's a bubble heart. Woo, man. I mean, you know, I love Collusion to death. I would put him as 1 or 2. I would say June's our #1 support here in North America. Collusion, I would say, is very much a 2nd place contender. But that pathing to get that flank onto the Chromie and into that position, that was a turning point if I've ever seen one in a game. You were dominating in kills, maybe not necessarily in control and beacon phase. The keeps were even, but they went for the big play, and that backfired about as much as it possibly could there.
Yeah, they almost got the Chromie too, but bringing Falstad in, Gus, a calculation that did cost a little bit on the core, but ENDEMIC, good to recognize that as long as they were able to get that number of kills, and that staggered death on Tracer seemed to really hurt too, because then they could add even more with the boss and then the Zerg Rush from that too. ENDEMIC proves they still know what they're doing on Brax's holdout, but that was a crazy close game. The Falstad ganks, it felt like fights were breaking out constantly in so many different places, and it was just like, count. Do we have 3 and they have 2? Then let's go and fight. Like, it was just everywhere at once.
Well, you asked me earlier in the game, you're like, what do they do if they get a kill? One post-level 10 was like, well, they got to make a lot happen because Planet Cracker will just wipe it away. That boss ended up being the ultimate X factor because they got the kill, got the 2nd kill, and that's when it's like, it's boss time, it's go time, because if they don't get that boss there, they don't end. Planet Cracker does not allow that. So the fact that they were able to play around the camps and then eventually get 2 kills, not 1, but 2 kills to get that boss, that ended up being the key factor for them to turn that game around. And again, keeps them still in contention for one of these top spots to fight for Western Clash.
Still, there were a lot of people that went down at the end there that scared me, especially because the boss is like, let's shoot down the well right now. And I just know that they were like, come on, let us attack the core, please. That was close, but it made it work. And now we're going to commercial break, but don't go anywhere because after that break, we have Game 5.